Hello, my name is Mr. Codilla, and today I'm going to show you how to do a one-point perspective drawing. The first thing you want to do is, of course, get your paper out here, and you're going to establish your horizon line. Now I'm just going to divide this paper in half, just measuring down halfway, put a little line here. You could put your horizon line higher up or lower down, but for this example I'll just have it go right down the middle. Now, if you've never used a ruler to draw before, there is a metal side to your ruler you'll be using to draw your lines as opposed to the other side that just has the wood. You want to use that metal side if your ruler has one of those. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a one-point perspective. Vanishing point. You could put it over here, you could put it over here, but for the sake of this example I'm going to put it right in the middle. Right there. Now the next step is you can start putting in things that would go into perspective, like buildings or cars or anything else. However, for this example I'm going to go ahead and start with a road. That's one of the easiest ways to start. It's a nice visual strategy in a one-point perspective drawing, is to have something that the viewer can enter into your picture, and a road's a great example for that. Now I can start adding things like lines or cars or sidewalks or maybe street lights, but I'm going to start with the building next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure, I'm going to go ahead and start down here to give myself some room. I could start with a small building out here or wherever, but to make sure that I have the foreground elements in, I'm going to go ahead and just put in a line right here. That's going to represent the corner of my building. You would do the same thing for like a street light or a telephone pole or whatever. Now I'm going to draw just the side of this building. And that's just going to be a simple rectangle. Notice how this bottom line and this line are parallel with the edges of the paper. Now, of course, buildings can be slanted. You have buildings like the Leaning Tower of Pisa that do slant over, so this is not a hard and fast rule for every building. But generally, most buildings follow rules like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and finish up my rectangle. There it is. Now I'm going to make this rectangle look like it's going off into space, and this vanishing point that we drew earlier is very important. I'm going to take this corner, match it up with the vanishing point, just like so. Draw a line. Now I don't want to draw it all the way to the vanishing point because then it would look like my building is going way off into the distance. Maybe I want to stop it right about there. Now this next line, one of the big mistakes people make is they want to actually slant it. You want this next line to be just like these other two lines, parallel with the side of the paper right here, just like that. Now you've noticed that I've drawn another building over here on the side, and now notice that this line that connected the building with the vanishing point over here is actually below the horizon line. So since this building ends below the horizon line, you will see the top of this building. But notice how the sides still connect with that vanishing point here and over here. Right there, just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and add another building. That's pretty simple. You have to decide whether or not you want an alley or a gap or the buildings touching each other. For this one I'm going to add just a little bit of a gap between these buildings. I'm going to draw another line going right up here. Maybe this will be a taller building right about here. Again, just like I did with my first one, you're going to go ahead and draw your rectangle or square or whatever you need it to be. And of course those rules can be broken later. You can do buildings with dome tops or whatever, so it doesn't have to be all just straight lines. Again, I'm going to match this corner up with this vanishing point right here. Now, when I do this, it looks like a really steep angle, and our instincts tell us, no, that can't look right, but actually trust that vanishing point because it will look correct. I'm going to go ahead and finish up this last parallel line. Touches the road here. And there's my next building. The next thing I want to cover is windows and doors, things that sometimes can be a little tricky to do. Notice that on this drawing I have windows on the front of this building. Those are not in perspective since they are on the side of the building right here. And they are not receding into space. They're not going into space. You don't have to use the vanishing point for those kind of windows and doors on the side. But if it is on the side over here and is going into space, you'll definitely have to use that vanishing point. Let me show you how to do that. I'm going to go ahead and let's say I'm going to put a window in right here. I'll just draw a line like I did right here. Now I'm going to take this top of the line, I'm going to match it up with my vanishing point, Let's say it's a big window right there. Maybe even a sign. Now, I'm going to take this line and match it up with the vanishing point, the bottom of the line. There we go. Now I have the top and the bottom of my window. Now I'm going to just finish up the other side. This is a parallel line as well. A lot of people get a little mixed up with this. I'm going to show you a mistake that I often see. That's a window that's in perspective. Let me make a mistake over here. Here's what I often see people do. They'll just draw slanted lines like this. They'll match up maybe the top line like this, and then they'll just kind of ignore the vanishing point sometimes and say, oh, I'll just finish the window like that. And of course a window could look like that on a building in real life, because windows can really be any shape, any size, any configuration. But if you're trying to make it look like it's right there on the building, square and flush and even, then obviously that would be a mistake. Okay? But that's easily fixable. Now to do a door, you just follow the same type of pattern. You just start where the street is at right here, bring a line up, match the top of the door with the vanishing point. The bottom of the door is already established for us because it is right there. We drew that earlier for the street. Drop down that other parallel line, and there's my door. I can go ahead and put a door handle or whatever you want to do, double doors, sliding doors. Now as you start to add your details in other buildings, be careful to remind yourself to make sure that there's parallel lines and when to kind of bend the rules or break them. Alright? For example, in this building that I'm starting to draw here, I'm going to go ahead and match up this vanishing point right here the correct way. That's the way it should look. Here's sometimes what happens though, is I'll see a building that looks pretty close. I'll go ahead and finish up the side here. But if you look closely, you can kind of tell it doesn't quite match. Alright? You want to look out for little mistakes like that. Okay? Because you will definitely tell when something is not in perspective correctly. And of course, when you're finished adding your buildings, you can start adding the details: sun, moon, stars, clouds, satellite dishes, cars, people, whatever you'd like to do. And that's how you draw in one-point perspective.